Hi there, my name is Jessica Drossin, and today I'm going to walk you through how I'm going to edit this image to take it from summer into winter. Now, you might want to do that if you live in a warm climate year-round like I do here in Southern California, and you want to either have some fine art images that look like they were shot in the snow, or maybe you're somewhere where it really is quite cold, but you don't have snow, and you want to add some beauty and a little more environmental detail to your image for holiday cards or licensing or whatever your purpose might be. So first of all, I want to just tell you, if you're someone who has purchased the Force of Nature or Endless Winter before, now that I've bundled them, I've reorganized the folders here a little bit, hopefully to simplify things. So we're going to start with the Endless Winter all-in-one actions for this demonstration. Now, I can either use one of the all-in-ones, or I can use one of these bonus change actions, which are similar, but they have more tones built in, and they don't include snow. I think for this one, I'm going to go ahead and choose Enchanted Winter, and I will add my snow later. Alright, so this is our action. This is before, after, and I can change the opacity, or I can go into the folders and turn things on or off if I'd like to customize it, but I think I kind of like it how it appears right now, so I'm going to leave it right like that. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and add some snow. So I'm going to move here into the Endless Winter Snow actions. I have a number of different actions that I can choose from, and I think what I'm going to go with here is Snowstorm. So I click play, and as you see now I have some snow effects. I'm going to make sure that I have the mask selected here, and with my paintbrush I'm going to paint black at 100% over her face and skin tones. You might like to have a little bit of snowflakes over her skin. If that's what you'd like, that's perfect. I am not 100% in love with how it looks, so I tend to take some of the snow off of my skin. And then I'm going to reduce my opacity, and I'm just going to go ahead and soften the opacity here along the edges and in a couple of little areas in the background here, just to provide some depth. The reason I'm doing it here along these side and bottom edges is just because I'm going to add an overlay at a later stage where the snowflakes are going to appear larger. So just as in the image, I'll show you, these parts of the bush are closer to me and blurrier, I'm going to do the same thing with my snowflakes, but I'm going to do that a little later on. So right now I'm just eliminating the smaller and more defined snowflakes along my edges so that this will more realistically fit in. Now if you are not using a real shallow depth of focus like I am, you wouldn't have to do this step, but I do. I'm going to even lower this a little bit more. Alright, so this is looking pretty good to me now. I think what I'm going to do next is add an overlay like we talked about. So I'm going to go and open, and I'm going to pick one of these snow overlays from the set. Let's try snow number 10. And I'm going to drag it right on top of my image, and I'm going to make sure that it's going all the way across from edge to edge with no gaps. Alrighty. Now there's two different ways that I can place this. I can go down here to my integration actions, and I can simply hit dark overlay action, and the action will add it for me. Or if you wanted to skip that step, simply move it to screen mode in your blending mode palette here. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mask back some of this overlay effect. And I'm going to lower my opacity. And I'm just going to start painting back a little bit of this detail. As you can see, I don't get real fussy. Just try to keep it loose. And I'm going to hit this with a little bit of a Gaussian blur in my mask itself. I'm going to lower the Gaussian blur here to about 24%. That's just going to soften some of my brush strokes here in that mask itself. Soften the transitions. Okay. Just adding a little depth here. Kind of loosely following now some of the outline of the plants here that are surrounding her. And again, I'm going to hit Gaussian blur. Just revealing a little bit more of the detail. I'm going to focus on revealing more of the detail at the top. I like what it's doing compositionally, kind of creating a V here, pointing my eye to her. And also, I'm not a huge fan of the way that, I'll show you, of the way that her feet are getting a little lost down there. So we're just going to obscure that a little bit by choices that we're making with masking. And I think I'm liking this a lot. I'm just going to add back a little bit of detail, just in a couple areas with a little smaller brush here. And I'm going to change my blur amount, make it a little bit softer. And let's see, now with a really big brush, I'll come back through one more time. I really believe in masking in low opacities and just returning rather than trying to make a big selection and get it just perfect at 100%. If you can all help it, I think that doing it like this creates a much more natural effect. Okay. So I think this is starting to feel like a bit of a winter wonderland. Now, what I'd like to do maybe is integrate some of these tones just a little bit more. So I'm going to go to the color toning actions. And going to try a couple of, actually I'm going to show you how the audition works. So I'm going to audition all rather than picking one individually. It takes just a second because it's going to preview all of these actions. So we can turn on Cool Breeze, Everest, Frostbite, and I really like how Frostbite is unifying those tones a little bit more for me. I'm going to take out a little bit by painting into the mask itself with a black brush, just over her skin tones. Again, I'm just doing it very loosely with a very low opacity brush. All right. Now just some last little touches. I think I'm going to go into paints and details and just ever so subtly just give her a little bit of a rosy glow in her cheeks. So I'm going to make sure that I have the white brush selected and make sure that it's appropriately sized for the area. And now I'm just going to paint into that mask, revealing what this layer can do. Before, whenever you see a black mask like this, you can't see the effect. You have to paint using white so that you only see the effect of what that action was in these little areas that you've selected by painting into them with your brush. And I just like having a little bit of this rosy glow to her nose. I think it just makes it look a little cooler, kind of gives that feeling that she's really out there in this cool environment. And I'm going to just again soften it within my mask ever so slightly, this time at 6.8 pixels. Alright, now I think I'm going to go into the light effects actions. I could stop here, but I'm going to try one more thing. And I am going to see what it would look like if I had, let's see, I think a sunlight effect moving from the right. Okay, now I think I'm going to lower this a little bit from the default. And now again painting with a black brush into this white mask, so making sure I have black and painting into this mask. It's about 33%. I'm going to even get a bigger brush. I'm going to remove some of this effect from areas that aren't getting as hit by this flare. So here below and to the left side, I'm going to just mask out a little bit of this flare light effect. I'm going to make this even a little bigger. And again, just removing a little bit more of that flare from little detail areas where I don't want it to appear, like her eyebrow and eyelashes, and maybe the top of her hairline here. All right, I think I'm liking this. Maybe the last thing I'll do is adjust the saturation. So I'm going to go in here to Winter Saturation and hit the little play button. And I'm just going to bring this down a little bit to, let's say, about 50%. All right, so there is our final edit. Let me just put this into a folder so you can see easily the beginning to the end. So we'll call this Edit. Here's our winter scene. And there's our original summer photograph. All right, thank you so much for watching.